Yo, what's up guys, welcome back to another video. This is a reaction to something pretty different. I wasn't even planning to do this reaction. I was going to do some other ones, as you can probably see in the top. There was other reactions that I was going to do, but I just saw this pop up and I was like, you know what, let's just react to this. I'd never seen this video pop up before, but it's a topic that I've never looked into before. But yeah, America's top 10 most dangerous highways. Obviously highways are a thing everywhere, but I feel like in the US they are definitely more common, I guess. I don't know, because the country's so big, you need all these highways to get from place to place. But as you get into cities, I guess in terms of like the dangerous highways, it's gonna be when you're coming into the big cities and like you see all these pictures of like 10 lanes driving in and then 10 lanes driving out kind of thing. Maybe not to that extent, but you see that and you're like, okay, I can see how this could lead to some crashes and stuff like that. But we're going to see. I don't really know what to expect. I've never seen this channel. It's quite a small one. But yeah, if you enjoy it, obviously you can check the channel out. Links will be in the description to this video where you can obviously find the channel. But yeah, we're going to jump into this and see what this is about.
Today, guys.
Links are also in the description for my Patreon if you want to see some more of my reactions that I post. A lot of different content on there compared to my YouTube, because obviously on YouTube you can't post movie reactions or series reactions or just certain reactions that I can't post like that. But yeah, links are in the description. But let's jump into this and see what this is about.
We're going to be talking about America's 10 most dangerous highways. In an article that I recently came across by a website called The Zebra, they listed the top 10 most dangerous highways in America. We're going to take a look at this list, and I'll give my thoughts about the highways on the list and personal experiences while traveling on some of them. First things first, the methodology that the Zebra used to compile this list was from the National Highway and Safety Transportation Association and the Fatality Analysis Reporting System, or FARS. They broke it down by fatalities per 100 miles based on 2019 data. The article will be linked in the description if you want to check it out. At number 10 on the list is not only the most surprising, but also the only non-interstate highway on the list, US 41. US 41 is a major north-south highway that runs from Miami, Florida to the UP of Michigan. Along the way, it passes through major cities such as Tampa, Atlanta, Nashville, Chicago, and Milwaukee.
These are some long ass roads or long ass highways. I guess you probably got some from, I'm just going to guess, there's probably one from New York all the way to Los Angeles. That's my guess for the biggest highway. I don't know if that's true or not, but I mean, you're looking at this, and that is so long.
As is the
and it obviously makes sense as to why there's going to be so many casualties on it, because it goes through so many major cities.
case with many U.S. highways, US 41 does not have a certain standard for its length. It can range from a 2-lane rural highway, such as through the Florida Everglades, to a major surface boulevard, to a quasi-freeway in Lakeshore Drive through Chicago, to an actual freeway in concurrency with interstate highways such as Interstate 41 in Wisconsin. According to the article, US 41 had 141 fatalities in 2019 and 7.02 fatalities per 100 miles. Many of the fatalities on US 41 can be attributed
7 fatalities per 100 miles
to the snow and ice on the northern end of the route and the portion through the Tampa Bay area, as Hillsborough County is known for having the highest traffic fatality rate in the entire country. Number 9 on the list is
What the hell is happening there?
Interstate 80. Interstate 80 is a transcontinental
so it's from New York to pretty much San Jose.
interstate highway that stretches all the way from the New York City area to San Francisco, California. It is the second longest interstate highway in the entire country, only behind Interstate 90. Other cities along the route include Cleveland, Chicago, Toledo, Des Moines, Iowa, Salt Lake City, Reno, and Sacramento. I-80 had a total of 209 fatalities in 2019 and a rate of 7.21 fatalities.
To be fair, for a highway that big, obviously it's a lot of people, but that's such a big highway, of course it's going to happen.
Per 100 miles. With the routing of Interstate 80, it's safe to say that a majority of its fatalities are concentrated in the New York, Chicago, and San Francisco metro areas. During winter months, icy weather in the Chicago, Cleveland, and New York areas can be credited with the increase in fatalities. Number 8 is Interstate 70, another long, almost coast-to-coast interstate. I-70 runs from I-15 near Cove Fort, Utah to its humble ending at a parking ride just inside the Baltimore city limits on the east.
Well, that's so weird. My question is, why wouldn't it just go coast to coast? I mean, maybe it's just too expensive, But you've gone that far in. Why wouldn't you just go coast to coast at that point?
East Coast. It is the 5th longest interstate highway and runs through cities such as Denver, Topeka, Kansas, Kansas City, St. Louis, Indianapolis, Columbus, Pittsburgh, and Baltimore. I-70 had 158 fatalities in 2019 at a rate of 7.35 per 100 miles. A famous stretch of I-70 is a section in Colorado. The section in Glenwood Canyon, in particular, was not completed until 1992 and goes through some of the most difficult terrain in the entire interstate highway system. It features several steep grades along with some sharp corners that aren't in line with typical interstate standards. Outside of Colorado, I-70 serves as the main east-west freeway through many of the cities it passes through, which likely increases its fatality rate due to those urban stretches in St. Louis, Kansas City, Columbus, and Indianapolis. The number 7 highway is one that I'm very familiar with personally, Interstate 40. Interstate 40 is a transcontinental interstate highway stretching from Wilmington, North Carolina to Barstow, California. It passes through cities along the way such as the Raleigh and Durham Triangle area, the Greensboro, Winston-Salem area, Knoxville, Nashville, Memphis, Little Rock, Oklahoma City, Amarillo, Texas, and Albuquerque, New Mexico. I actually traveled this highway in its near entirety back in the day, driving my car from my home state of North Carolina to my duty station in Southern California. A famous quote from CBS journalist Charles Kuralt upon completion of I-40 in 1990 stated, "Thanks to the interstate highway system, it is now possible to travel from coast to coast without seeing anything." I can confirm those sentiments as once you pass Memphis, this highway becomes significantly more desolate and empty. The Zebra article listed 253 fatalities for 2019.
It's a big jump. Now it's nearly 10 per 100 miles. It's a big jump from the last one.
With a rate of 9.89 per 100 miles. While I-40 doesn't go through as many large metro areas as some of the other highways, it does pass through a lot of difficult terrain, particularly through the Great Smoky Mountains of North Carolina and Tennessee, where rock slides are common and can make the road treacherous or even impassable at times. I-40 is also one of the heaviest truck corridors in the U.S., and the mix of vehicles can contribute to the fatality rate.
Oh yeah, I bet there's a lot of collisions and stuff.
At number 6 on the list, Interstate 15, a major north-south interstate highway. Going from San Diego, California to the Canadian border at Sweetgrass, Montana. Along the way, I-15 passes through the Inland Empire portion of the greater Los Angeles region, Las Vegas, and Salt Lake City, Utah. I-15 had 158 total fatalities and a rate of 11.02 per 100 miles. Upon first glance, one would notice that I-15 is much shorter than the east-west interstates on the list so far, and also only travels through a few large metro areas in comparison. The high fatality rate is likely due to the California portion of the route.
Wow.
I-15 travels through mountainous terrain between San Diego and the Inland Empire, experiences heavy traffic in the area, and then proceeds to a long and dangerous stretch between here and Las Vegas. North of Las Vegas, things quiet down significantly and it becomes a route less traveled. It's been a while since I drove on I-15, but that section in the Inland Empire was one that I often dreaded driving. Now we move on to the top 5. Starting it out is Interstate 35, another major north.
This goes all the way from Canada to Mexico.
South route ending in 5. It runs from the Mexican border in Laredo, Texas to Duluth, Minnesota. Along the way, it passes through the major metros of San Antonio, Austin, Dallas, Fort Worth, Oklahoma City, Kansas City, Des Moines, Iowa, and the Minneapolis-St. Paul area. I-35 had 137 fatalities in 2019 and a rate of 12.56 fatalities per 100 miles.
It's jumped up quite a lot.
Zebra says that the big contributors to I-35 stats are that it goes through all of the largest cities in Texas outside of Houston and carries a very heavy amount of truck traffic, being a near border-to-border interstate highway. One thing of note is that it is the only interstate that travels through Austin, a fast-growing city of over 800,000 people, so it is likely attracting a lot of drivers in that area. Next up is another interstate that I'm quite familiar with, and that is Interstate 75. I-75 covers a large amount of territory from the Miami Metro in South Florida to the Canadian border in Sault Ste. Marie, Michigan. Along this route are the major areas of Fort Myers and Sarasota, Florida, Tampa, Atlanta, Cincinnati, and Detroit. I-75 had a total of 237 fatalities in 2019 and a rate of 13.27 per 100 miles. The Zebra attributed a large amount of those fatalities to icy winter conditions in Michigan and the portions of I-75 on the west coast of Florida. Fort Myers and Sarasota were mentioned, along with Tampa being the worst of all, with Hillsborough County, which contains Tampa, being cited as the most dangerous county in the
Tampa, what is going on?
entire country. Surprisingly, the Atlanta area wasn't mentioned along with the Florida portion. With some of the crazy driving I've seen in Atlanta, it speaks volumes to how much worse the driving must be on the Florida stretch of I-75. Now to number 3. We are back on the West Coast, and it is none other than the main highway of the West Coast, Interstate 5. Interstate 5 travels from border to border, the Mexican border in San Diego to the Canadian border in Blaine, Washington. Along the way, it passes through or near major metro areas such as San Diego, Los Angeles, the San Francisco Bay Area, Sacramento, Portland, and Seattle. I-5 had 186 fatalities in 2019 and 13.47 fatalities per 100 miles. As with I-15, the majority of I-5's fatalities occur in California. The portion in San Diego County was cited as the most dangerous section, along with sections in the Los Angeles and Sacramento areas being major contributors. Being an interstate that fully runs between each international border, I-5 also carries a large amount of truck traffic, and the Zebra says this adds quite a bit to the auto fatalities. At number 2, we are almost done, and the highway in question is Interstate 20. Interstate 20 runs from I-95 in Florence, South Carolina.
This is got to be the smallest one, right? I mean, it's obviously still big. This would probably go across the whole of England, maybe even more than that, to be honest. So it's still massive. But compared to the other ones, it's probably the smallest, yet second most dangerous.
Carolina to its western end at I-10 in West Texas. I-20 runs through Columbia, South Carolina, Atlanta, Birmingham, Alabama, Jackson, Mississippi, Shreveport, Louisiana, and the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. I-20 had 208 total fatalities and 13.52 per 100 miles, just barely beating out I-5. The Zebra cited high traffic areas such as Dallas, Jackson, and Atlanta as major contributors to its fatality rate. While it might be surprising to see a smaller metro like Jackson on the list, I can confirm that the stretch of I-20 through that area is quite constrained, pothole-filled, and felt very unsafe compared to most other highways. So I can see why things might be deadly in that area. Birmingham, on the other hand, was noticeably absent, which may possibly be due to the recent widening and improvements on I-20 through that area. Who would have thought it would be safer to drive in Alabama than Texas? Now, the moment you've all been waiting for, the only well-known highway left at this point, to no one's surprise, the mighty Interstate 95. Coming in
I-95. I mean, you can just see it goes through a lot of major cities and stuff.
at number 1 on the list, I-95 travels up the U.S. East Coast from the tropical palm trees in downtown Miami to the icy forests of Holton, Maine, at the Canadian border. I-95 carries more traffic than any other highway and travels through or near more populated areas than any other highway by far. After Miami, it runs through Jacksonville, Florida, Savannah, Georgia, Fayetteville, North Carolina, Richmond, Virginia, Washington, D.C., Baltimore, Philadelphia, New Jersey, New York City, and Boston, before calming back down to a quiet freeway through Maine. I-95 clocked in at number 1 in both total fatalities and fatality rate, with
pretty much 15 fatalities per 100 miles. Jeez. That is wild. God damn. 284 in 2019.
284 fatalities and 14.88 per 100 miles. In addition to the sheer density of population that I-95 serves, the Zebra says that much of the deadliness on I-95 can be attributed to icy conditions in the Northeast winters and drivers on the east coast of Florida, particularly in Jacksonville and Brevard County. I noticed that I-95 in South Carolina wasn't mentioned, but perhaps that's because on that section of I-95, you'll be barely moving due to all the congestion. Personally, my last trip on I-95 in South Carolina involved sitting in stop-and-go traffic from the I-26 junction all the way to the Georgia state line. Time to step your game up, South Carolina. All right, guys, there we have it.
So based off this, I'm assuming this guy drove... Is there like a hobby of people who try and drive the entirety of all the highways in the US? I'm sure there is. Because this guy seemed to like know his stuff, and he was talking about how he'd been in all of them. Is that like a thing? People have like a hobby to try and drive the full length of all the major highways, or just all the highways in general? Probably is, right? Or maybe just through work, maybe as a truck driver or something. I mean, I guess that is possibly a thing.
The most dangerous highways in America. Were you surprised by any of the highways on the list, or by the...
I mean, I-95 is definitely one that I've heard of before, so it probably isn't a surprise, because I've definitely just heard the name of it. And I don't even know motorways in the UK, so that sort of says a lot that I know this one. But why are they called I in the UK? They're like M25, I think, like the M24 road. Wait, what are they even called? I don't even know what they're called. M23. There we go. Not M24. M24 is not even a motorway. Is it just our word for highway? Motorway is just our way of saying, I guess. But wait, what's the most dangerous motorway? In England. The A57 Snake Pass. See, I have heard about that. Oh, rural roads, don't get me started. Flipping hell, they are horrible. Like, we'll be driving to my grandparents, and there's literally just hedges all the way up. You can't see anything, and it's just a one-way. It's not a one-way road, but it only fits one car. And we used to drive it every time we went to my grandparents. Yeah, that's true. I don't know if it's like that in the US, but in the UK, mate, rural roads are such a joke. So the A57 is like, what is the Snake Pass? Glossop. Why Snake Pass? Has a fearsome reputation as being the most dangerous, if not treated with respect. The combination of blind summits, dangerous curves, and twisty sections of a single carriageway make it a stern test for anyone in a car. What's the longest? What's the longest road in the UK? The A1 at 410 miles, connecting London to Edinburgh, and then longest road in the US. doesn't even like 410 to 3,365. God damn. Longest road in the world? It's probably from like China to somewhere in Africa or somewhere in Europe. The Pan American Highway. Oh, damn. The longest road in the world is the Pan American Highway, which begins in Prudhoe Bay, Alaska, and stretches to Argentina. 19,000 miles. Are you joking? Oh, my days. Does it connect to some of the ones that I mentioned? Because obviously you've got the ones that down here. I guess it just connects to these, but then it's just considered a different road. That is wild, though. God damn. Well, it went into a bit of a rabbit hole at the end of the video, but hopefully you did enjoy. And yeah, if you've been on all of these roads, let me know what it's like. But yeah, hopefully you enjoyed. And until next time, like, subscribe, and peace.